Okay.
You are laying some serious jewels. Keep talking. I want to hear this.
So we were talking about earlier about, back early in my career and trying to figure out where I belonged in dentistry. I believe that I'm not just a hygienist. That's maybe what I do. But I took myself to a program or a conference out in Vegas, and as I said earlier, I'm not really a big fan of Vegas. Didn't really want to travel there by myself, but something drove me, and they had a general session where they were acknowledging professionals in our industry for achievements that they've done. A word of the AOD Award of Distinction was the ceremony that they were presenting with, and I routinely always sit at the last row, at the last seat, because that's my name. And I finally realized I always struggled from not wanting to be last and having to figure out what I have to do in my career to get first, be cutting edge. And so as I was listening to the attendee, to the awardee, the award winners, and how did they get there? I was like, oh yeah, we studied the same book, we have same case studies, we practice with the same instruments, and like, what makes them different than everybody else that's here? And how can I, with what I have burning inside of me, be able to share that passion, share that perspective? And it's not just about getting the award, it's about opening eyes. It's about challenging people to, everyone says you don't want to be pigeonholed and you're just a hygienist. And it's not about that. It's about do no harm. It's about live life in purpose. And whether you call it God or prayer or whatever it is, it's to, what's your legacy? And so that was in 2000 and something. And in 2016, I was recognized. I intentionally and non-intentionally had in the back of my mind, how can I on stage be able to not just acknowledge greatness, and that's not an egotistical thing, which I think a lot of people in our industry think, oh, you're on stage, you're like this big celebrity thing. But how can you inspire people, invite people in, break down their walls of insecurity or, I'm not good enough, I'm not fast enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not pretty enough, the enoughs, get rid of that. And how can we encourage all the people that are sitting in the chairs to aspire to walk their walk, to talk their talk? And I was blessed and acknowledged for what I was doing. And although it was wonderful to see everyone and everybody was clapping and everything, and I do get emotional, and I still have this picture. There was an attendee that came up to me afterward, and she said, I followed your career. And I'm like, really? Where?
Wow.
She's
Wow.
like, I try to come to all of the programs or, go to your webinars or, listen to what you do. And she goes, she used this word and she said, you're just you're such a celebrity to me. And she
Mm.
goes, I want to be just like you. And I said, well, thank you. I said, I'm not a celebrity. I said, the only difference between you and I is time and belief and faith. And I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be better than me. And if
Mm.
I can help you in that journey, this is what I'm here for. This is temporary. But what you leave behind, that emotion, that motivation, that energy, that feeling and presence of safety and unconditional love, that's what I aspire for.
Mm.
That's what I see, and whether it's my purpose or whether it's my energy, that's what I feel we need. And I want to be part of that.
Let me ask you something, Debbie Z.
Yeah.
Look, so we're not even doing the podcast the way we normally do it, where I say, "Hi, my name is Shireen," and we're just gonna go into it because my name is Shireen, and I'm the podcast host of Spirituality and Dentistry. But Debbie Z just started breaking out all these jewels. I was like, you know what? I'm getting this on. Wait, Debbie Z. How do
Yes,
you pronounce your last name, Debbie? Because I'm gonna mess it up.
it's okay. It's if you break it down and you say Zafir Opolis, Zafir means sapphire, Opolis means to sell. So Zafir Opolis.
Zafiropolis.
Opolis. Yep.
You're known in the world of dentistry as Debbie Z because people are like, did
Yes.
you see Debbie Z? Did you see Debbie Z?
Yeah.
So Debbie Z.
Yes.
And I would love for you to just share just a few moments about this. Esteemed speaker, author, consultant, preventionist, early intervention advocate for cancer awareness. You
Mhm.
are a hygienist as well.
Yes.
Can you expand on the titles and the accolades that I
Yeah.
just mentioned?
Well, it's simple. I think, I think we have to have those words, in a professional essence, like you have a bio and people want to know what you do, what you are, right? And that's all great. But that's yesterday. Like, who am I today? I'm just Debbie Z. And I have lifetimes of experiences that I want to share with people. So whether it's in cancer prevention, whether it's motivating teams to work closer together as a team so they can get to the why before they're due, make them more productive, make the bottom line of their practice much more enhanced by doing the right thing. That's something else. That's another part. Um, I have a nonprofit called the National Cancer Network.org, which we focus primarily, there's kind of like four tiers to that, but primarily it's to take the fear out of patients and families going through cancer.
Mm,
Um, we talked a little bit probably before we started recording about, me sitting in the back of the hall and realizing, from going from Z to A, there's a lot of steps. And part of that is seeing a different perspective, and sometimes when people get the diagnosis of cancer, their subconscious starts unplugging, and their family members with all good intent say, relax, sit down, calm down, you should sleep, you shouldn't worry, you should do. And it's almost the opposite. You engage that patient is going through that because they're not cancer, their
right,
body has it, right?
right.
And so in all of those titles, it's really to bring a different perspective so we can learn from each other. It doesn't mean I'm right and everybody else is wrong or vice versa. It's in the differences in experiences that when we bring it together, look how strong we are.
Mm,
So my passion with all those wonderful things that we have to put down in a bio really comes down to authenticity, passion, and commitment
love.
in whatever will do no harm to our community.
Now, you are a member of Spirituality and Dentistry,
I am.
which I'm so grateful for and appreciate you for being a member of our Facebook group. What are your thoughts about spirituality and incorporating more contemplative practices in dentistry? Do you think there is room for it? Just noticing where we are right now in the world. Is that, do you think there's room for that?
I think that there's a storage closet in the back just bursting with that energy that people need to open up and embrace. I think that when people find their true self and their energy and can unconditionally share that with their team members, that not only will the dentistry be better, not only will bottom lines be better, not only will patients complete therapy successfully with a medically necessary diagnosis to long-term care success with collaboration with the patient, it will, in my belief, it will create an energy of medicine that we have never experienced before. And I've said this and I truly believe it. Dentistry is the most underutilized division of medicine. And until we have that co-collaboration, until we have that energy, that faith, that belief that we can change lives, and not by drilling, filling, and billing, by
Hmm.
really getting to the root cause of illness and disease, absolutely, spirituality has an important aspect of it.
Hmm. Now, are you still practicing as a hygienist?
I don't practice clinically any longer, no.
Okay.
And boy, do I miss it.
When you did practice,
Mhm.
can you recall situations where you were with a patient and you were not afraid to share any aspects of your spiritual beliefs? I know I did it when I used to sell, but not every,
Um,
did you
I
ever?
I never had fear. I've always had in my operatories, being Greek. I don't know if that has to do with it. I think it just has to do with, it has to do probably with my grandmother, who I'm blessed to have her name. I'm blessed to have the cross that she brought from her country, and gave to me. I've always had an icon wherever I go. It's in my car, it's in my wallet, it's in my operatories. When I travel, to meetings, I have it with me. So I've never had a fear of sharing that with people. I remember a couple patients. I remember one specifically that I actually wrote an article about, finding an abnormality in his mouth, and I knew in my gut it wasn't going to be good.
Mm.
Pathology came back; it was not good. And when he came back into my operatory with his wife for a reevaluation appointment with me, and I didn't have the pathology report, he brought it with him. We went into my operatory, him and his wife, closed the door, we sat down, and eye to eye, knee to knee, face to face, and he just grabbed my hand and he said, "I want you to know, for whatever life I have left, you have shown me that there are good people in the world, and that you truly care about people and not just about what you do." And got goosebumps. I could still see his face. I could see his wife. I could tell that she was very emotional. They proceeded to tell me that he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Wow.
It was a bump and bulge that shouldn't have been there. He was told he had an enlarged lymph node and it would go away with antibiotics, and it didn't. With fear of being fired, I sent him to another person and they did a biopsy, and that's where it came back. So it was that gut feeling, and that not guessing, not letting any bump or spot walk out the door without a name on it. But when it came back, and I could just see in his eyes, but I wasn't expecting his response. I wasn't expecting that at all. But I can still feel him hold my hand and tell me that. And that is what they call God wink, maybe. That at times when doors are closing in my career or in my life, I think back and say, "Deb, you did good.
Job well done. Job well
Job
done.
well done."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that story. As I was listening to your story about that kind gentleman, it made me think back when I used to work at Clear Choice, which, yeah, I would met with a lot of volume. But every once in a while, you'd meet people and you'd think, wow, this, like, it felt more like a ministry.
Yes.
So, like, yes, I was selling, but like the relationships that I built with people was because I truly loved what I was doing. And there was heart and love in my heart for the people that I worked with.
Right.
And to me, that's what's beautiful about dentistry. There's so much going on in dentistry right now with the staffing, and there's like a little
Turmoil. There's
like,
conflict. The energy is like fusilli pasta. It's like all over the place.
I know I'm not the only one that feels it.
No, no. And to your point, I hope you recognize that when people resonate with that energy and that purity, it's trust. They don't think about how much is it going to cost. They think, Shireen is telling me something. I am receiving what she is saying, and God will provide.
Yes.
They want to live a long life, pain-free, being able to smile, chew their food, digest their food. And I think sometimes our profession, we become so procedural. We become so, I need this, I need that, I need this, and I need that before the patient even walks in the door, that we forget that they're human. A very long time ago, I wrote a book. I don't think it was a book. I think it could possibly be a short story, but it was Teeth Are People Too,
Mm.
right? And it was like the conflicts of the maxillary molar to the mandibular molar, and how occlusion messes it up, and how the incisor fights with the central, and like it was just really, I don't know where I was in that stage of my career, but it was just like, so people, it was just like, we've become so procedural that we forget that there's an entity around it. And I think that it's even in the conversations when we talk to our patients, just like you've had the ability, when you build that trust and you explain it and you allow them to sit back and absorb it, they get it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where I think
That's what they
dentistry
want,
is
Dempsey. They just want everything to be humanized.
humanized, you know? Yes.
Can we get what is it going to take for us to get back there? What is it going to take? Because I'm going to tell you the what's happening in dentistry. Like I got clients, you know, the dentist they text me or they show up to a Zoom call and there's no treatment coordinator because they quit. So we
Right.
talk about energy and dentistry. What is it going to take for us to get back to that? Can we get back?
You know, I've always believed that what's there to get back to when it was that bad? Instead of getting back, it's like looking in the rear view mirror. You can't drive a car looking in the rear view mirror or whatever that saying is. I think that what the opportunity is with leaders like yourself and some of the other dynamic people that are in the spirituality group that I get gaga over, it is to create the opportunity for people to see their worth, to create the opportunity for them to be heard and not be judged, and create the opportunity for people who may not have a skill set in the position that they're in, encourage them, mentor them, give them an opportunity to open the door to an opportunity somewhere else where their skill set is best served. I mean, I all my growing up life wanted to be a dentist. When I told my father I wanted to be a dentist, and he basically said, women in our family don't go to school. I'm like, I'm going.
Wow.
and so I started working in a dental office with my patent leather white shoes from Sunday school, my lace little knee highs, and all this other fun stuff. And I'll never forget when I heard the hygienist speak to the patients. And I was like, wow, like she really talks to them. And
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't what I experienced when I became a hygienist, checking medical history, you have to brush more, you have to floss more, and then you're just in the mouth doing a procedure. And
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes when I consult in offices and I just listen, I'm probably gonna, ruin any contracts I'll ever get going into an office by saying this, but I'll listen to what the hygienists are doing and just look at my watch. And I can know what they're doing for how long just by listening to what they're doing. So it's 3 to 5 minutes reviewing a medical history, get the gloves on, and then they're doing their, I don't use that C word because I think that's ridiculous, but they're doing a procedure
Mm-hmm.
up
Mm-hmm.
until 20 minutes before the hour, and then they see, and then it's flossing, polishing, rinsing out, and giving them their trick or treat bag.
Right.
Well, if we modify that and really address the situation that the patient is in and talk more about the why they need a procedure,
Mm-hmm.
the patient is going to have a lot more long-term success because the onus isn't on giving them a trick or treat bag with dental floss, a free sample of toothpaste, and a new toothbrush. It's giving them the empowerment of the tools they need, the medicaments they need, the encouragement they need, and the follow-up they need based on the disease red flag states that they're in. And we don't do enough of that right now. Well, we don't do enough of that for a long time because, we all know the statistics of perio is going up. But
Yeah.
the procedures of prophylaxis are still high. And so we both know when you're in that, I'm in the preventive mode. I'm in the, why I have 28 teeth in my mouth, my gums don't bleed. Why do your gums bleed? And they're like, well, you're a hygienist. And my job is to make you the best hygienist when you leave my chair and you leave my care. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the perspective, and and I hate the term Debbie Downer. It isn't a Debbie Downer. It's just a different perspective and opportunity. So I don't look at obstacles. I look at them like, wow, that's really an opportunity for us to fill in the blank, right? Here's an opportunity for this team to go to a program, enhance their hands-on skill, whatever it may be. it's the empowerment of, instead of saying you're a lousy hygienist, you're heavy-handed, you're slow, you're fast, it takes away all of that negativity, and it engages the person to want to care.
Mm. So, okay, just got a couple thoughts in my mind right now. What would you, if somebody's watching this, listening to this, and they want to know more about your spiritual practices, and if you teach any of these spiritual practices or it's incorporated into any of your work as a consultant, please share. What are your practices? What keeps you grounded spiritually?
Those precious 3 words, God, God. And I will admit that there have been times in my life where I felt God left me, and he didn't. I left him.
Mm.
And I realized that the people that were brought in around me during that time were even more powerful than my thoughts of being left behind or abandoned. And so I think what keeps me positive in my career, regardless of doors opening or closing, is the faith that I chose whatever God put before me. The blueprints are tomorrow. The blueprints start in 30 seconds. I'm not quite sure. All I know is I pray. And a lady told me a long time ago, I was so blessed to have met her. And I said to her, I was raised Greek Orthodox. We go to church. We do, all that fun stuff. But it wasn't until I was going through a troubling time in my life that I actually prayed hard,
Mm-hmm.
like on the altar, on my chest, face down, bawling my eyes out, asking for the Lord to take me home. And if I wasn't worthy, let the devil drag me down, because it was for me. And the people around me were just like, you don't see it yet.
Wow.
And I saw it. And this one lady said to me, Jeannie Byrne, I'll never forget. She wasn't Greek. Didn't matter, because we're all children of God. And I used to go to a Methodist church to meet with her and pray with her. And I said to her, is it okay if I ask God for specifics? And she said, absolutely. And I'm not saying I want to win the lottery or anything. I just want peace in my life. I want to meet a decent human being to share my life with. I want to bring joy to the people that I am surrounded with. I want to dispel any evil and cut those ties of people that just suck my energy. So she taught me a different level of prayer. And when I do my programs, I think part of my comfort of that faith comes across in difficult conversations. And it comes across in times where there may be people in the audience that think they know more than you, or they don't know more than you, but they don't like your hair, they don't like the way you're dressed, or they're jealous, envious, or whatever it may be. Those strengths protect me. And I think that it's an amazing thing. And I have in the past, just recently at Murado ASC in Arizona with Claudia Murado, shared something with some of the attendees where I saw that they were struggling with something in their past. And I've done some work, and we don't have to go into it, but I just had them close their eyes and look at themselves as a child and say, you're the adult. Bring that child to you. Your job is to protect them. Your job is to feed them, to nourish them, to create safety around them. And when you do that, your life will open up. And I will tell you, it was not expected. It was just something that, whether you call it the Holy Spirit, it was just something that came over me that I had no control of. I was being facilitated to help release these two individuals so they could go on and walk into their greatness. And
Sounds
it
like
was,
spirit to me.
yes, and and you met both of them at a conference you were just at, and I call them, well, they call me their godmother. I call them my goddaughters, my two goddaughters. And it's in that environment of safety and security, irregardless of what anybody else thought. I didn't care. Nobody else existed when I was with that person, even though there was tons of people around. I was with that person. And then we came back. And then we worked with some other people. And then when that person needed it, I was with that person and they were with me. And it was beautiful. And I'm just honored to feel that they felt me and felt safe around that energy to let it go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because when they let it go, there's so much more that comes to you.
Yeah. Wow. If someone wanted to hire you as a keynote speaker,
Mhm.
or if there was a dental practice that wanted to bring you in to serve as a leader, coach, mentor to other hygienists, where would someone find your information, and what's the best way to reach you?
I know I'm old school and probably I know my friend Mike Ventriello is going to get mad at me for saying this, but I would love for people just to call me. I
See, I'm
think
old school too. Like my phone, like,
you
okay.
know, I think that I mean I've had several websites. After a while they just get so flat. It's just like, God, that's not even me. Like I don't know. I think that it's very difficult. It's very competitive nowadays. I mean, because everybody's a coach, a consultant, and whether they have, 2 weeks experience or 25 years experience, it kind of gets muddled, it kind of gets lost. Um, I honestly I've been so blessed. My success has come from word of mouth.
Mm,
Um,
that's the best
and
type of business.
it's so great. It really is. I mean, I'm looking at my LinkedIn page and I'm like, I don't think I've updated it since I put it up there 20 some years ago, which, now I have to, but it's just, I think if they call me, I mean, they can certainly email me. That
What's
would
your
be fine to
email?
set up.
What's your
I'll give you the simple one. My company is called Oral Ed Institute. So my email is oral, ORALED, because we educate orally, at me.com. Oral, ORAL, ed, at me.com. And then
Okay,
my phone number is simple. It's 561-358-7660.
say that one more time.
561-358-7660.
And what we'll do is we'll also include your information at the end
Mhm.
and find you because you're what just the conversation. I know you would be unbelievable as a resource in dental practices. There's a need for you, and I've never seen you speak on stage, but I would love to see you speak on stage. And so
Oh, thank you.
listening and or watching this, then they would be in for a treat to welcome you to the stage or into their practice.
Oh,
Can
you're
I
so sweet.
can I close out
I
our
would love that.
episode with a prayer?
Yes, please.
That's okay. So this is centering prayers by Peter Trayvon Haas, my spiritual director. The days that I meet with her, she chooses the date and reads it, and it's always spot on. And it's very short for today. It says, "I wait for your first move in the darkness of surrender, living presence, silent love. I wait for your first move in the darkness of surrender, lifting me into joy, whatever else may happen today. You are my center and source, blinding light, burning love, blooming life. Amen."
How beautiful.
Short, sweet. To me,
It's,
it's just hits you where it needs to hit.
it's like a fresh breath. It's
Yeah.
like a new breath. And that's, I think, in this hustle and bustle and the chaos of the energy we have in the world right now, people forget how precious a breath is.
Yeah.
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 So thank
Debbie
you
Z,
for that.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank
My
you for being in
pleasure.
our group.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for contributing to the group.
Yeah.
And you are a blessing to me. You're a blessing to anyone who watches and or listens to
Oh,
this.
thank
Have a
you so much.
beautiful, blessed day.
I promise I will. You do the same.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Bye bye.